Welcome back to a Pontiac video in which ShopDog had to show them something a little disappointing. While we were working on some wiring, the seat fell and it tore. So we're going to have to figure out our solution there, and I don't think it's going to be one of those vinyl repair kits off late night TV. So we'll deal with that. But over the last week, I have been doing some wiring on this car, and I haven't filmed it because it's boring and I don't know how I would actually film any of that. Taking notes, building back shelves for things. So the rear body harness is now sorted. I've got to actually build it, but when you look under here, you'll see a connector here and here. That's for our rear body harness. Here's our accessories harness, and you'll note things are starting to really fall into place. You know, these guys are all wired in already, and the dash is wired in, plus all the extra stuff that we added for the future Dakota project. And this is finally, and that was a nightmare. That's how that seat got torn. It was very difficult for me to get in there and line that up, and the seat was in the way, so I bolted it and slid it a little out the door, and while I was laying here working, it fell the rest of the way out the door. So we'll deal with that. Life happens. Just sucks. It's a bit of a setback, although I do have some bucket seats, so maybe it's not a setback. Maybe that console is a good purchase. But anyway, one of the things I was asked to explain the other day was why, even if I'm doing a custom setup, why do I want everybody to always buy the factory diagram, even though I'm not using any of the factory stuff? And the real reason you want this is because this shows you all the electrical systems that came on the car. You know, some of them you do or don't have depending on your options, but it helps you keep track in your mind what things you still have to deal with. You still have to have tail lights and direction lights, but it's going to show you, one, the number of lights that your vehicle had, where they were grouped, how they were powered, you know, what switches were used to power things. So even though some of this stuff isn't getting reused or doesn't matter or doesn't apply, knowing what subgroups your car had is going to help you take this generic drawing and figure out what you want to do with it and where you want to route everything. So the 12 or 20 bucks it costs to get one of these, and always get color. Anytime you can get something in color, it helps you trace things. This will help you remember, oh yeah, I need reverse lights. Oh yeah, I need my neutral safety, because this doesn't address that in any way, shape, or form. Not a generic kit. If you buy one of the retro kits or something like that, that'll be different. It'll have all that. It's still not a bad idea to keep track of what subsystems your vehicle came with. That's why I like these maps. The other thing that has been happening is we're really trying to work out belts. You're so close, but you're wrong.
Right there.
Yep.
Oh, is that where it was?
Yeah, which is why this hole had to be cleaned out. Now, we just took the compressor off. We have tried everything in the world to come up with a pulley to ride this back groove, and it's just, they didn't exist. So what we're going to do is get the add-on pulley for the factory air, which won't line up here, but it looks like if we take the little spacers here off, that's going to get us within a washer's distance of being able to run on the rear pulley. And that's 50 bucks, you know, that's pretty reasonable. We can work with that. And then that moves that back. We just test fit the actual covers we're planning to use, not these super tall goofy ones, and it gives us plenty of room. We won't have to trim this ear, so this is going to work. That's going to be our solution. It also means that for these two belts, now we can just go back to factory belts, so that made that real easy. And the AC belt, you know, we'll size that one out and then get that on order, or go buy it, you know, depending on its length. So that's kind of where we're at there. What I would like to have happen today, yeah, so all these pulleys and everything, and I've got a stack of pulleys over there we borrowed from Harlan that got to go back. But the thing that I want them to get accomplished today because I'm going to wind up working on the bent 69 today, is I want a steering column in so that I can finish the electrical connections there. The other thing I wouldn't mind is having clearance under this back seat. We'll kind of work with that because I do have to run the rear body harness at some point. And you can see where it used to run. In fact, the old sleeve is there. And I do like to use those sleeves under if we're still following that path. Every bit of rub resistance you can get helps. But you can see, well, maybe you can see, we now have the back shell from a 68 and later in there. In fact, I have one more sitting here. This is what we harvested and added to this kit, because this kit didn't come with a bulkhead connector. So I just harvested, well, a couple of them. This one has a broken ear, so it wasn't as ideal. This one still, you know, so the other one had both ears and the gasket was in better shape. So that's what's in the car now. But these are just standard connectors. You can pop them in. And then when I'm ready to do the engine harness and the light harness, I will harvest these two shells, which, you know, they slide apart and they've got a central locking bolt. But you'll notice they're smeared in an RTV compound. Harvesting this one isn't as fun. In fact, you can see this one had a water intrusion problem. But we'll clean that up. It'll clean up. And once again, standard connectors. And you can tell this is points ignition because it's got a resistor wire on it. So that's kind of where we're at there. Let's see. Yeah, so a lot of this was just working out what's got to go where and getting the rear body harness figured out. I think I've shown my notes before. I've got a bunch here. Yeah, more notes there. There is a page somewhere. Oh, right here. That has the breakout on this, which when you look here, you'll see, you know, it says, you know, DT. Well, what does that even mean? You know, Delta Tango. If I can get this out of here, I've got a map of the connectors, and you can see row D across T tells me which cavity I'm using for which wire. So in this case, that's my left front turn signal. And then I know in a previous video I showed actually adding that back shell and doing all that work. However, since that time the project's changed a little. I had to undo some of that, move a few things, splice a few wires. It just is what it is, which is why the soldering iron is sitting here. You know, the project changed a little. That's going to work out fine. So, no, hopefully we can get the interior mostly wired in the next 2 weeks before the wedding, and you know, that's going to allow us not only the freedom to start putting the interior back together, but once I can start building the light harness and the engine harness, then we can finally put that engine back in and get it out of the way. Getting the engine and the tranny in will definitely be a big goal that, well, obviously way before winter, but the sooner that can happen, the sooner we can start seeing this project really coming together, because then we can run all of our lines, we can figure out where the condenser's going, we can work out the rest of our fuel system up here, which isn't too bad, finish off our linkage, and then start looking at our exhaust, you know, which we haven't decided what we want to do there yet. So yeah, there's still a bit to go. There. That was 9 minutes of me rambling about what I've done over the last week and a half. Returning here, we've taken the spacers out and placed that against the head. And for now, we didn't have a bolt the right length, so that's not doing anything. What we're trying to do is determine if we add a groove back here, is our belt going to line up? And the easiest way to do that is these are always a set distance. So if this lines up with the front groove, that means the groove behind it will line up with that groove. And I don't know if you can see how well that lines up, but it lines up pretty good. So we're looking at that, looking at the alternator. That looks like that'll fit. Now we don't know what length the belt will be because we don't have the pulley yet. And it will ride literally just right back here. No biggie, just like the factory did. So that is our ideal solution. oddly enough, we already had a belt on hand, a nice Gatorback, a 58 incher. So that's going to be the belt we're going to use. These are really, really nice. And this one's obviously new. It's just dusty. So we took the pulley out because we don't have that back pulley. We're just running off of this one for now. But you can see just how nicely that lines up. We're pretty happy with that. I don't think this will throw. Obviously, we'll be on this groove because we'll have that other pulley behind it. That'll work really well. So now we have solved the problem, and now we don't have to go crazy here. We don't have to buy any expensive aftermarket serpentine kits or anything. And now ShopDog says we're using our noodles. We're working in this room, but while we've been working, these guys have gotten a lot done. The steering column is going in. The rag joint is back on. And we're starting to really think about accelerating the bucket conversion, since he does already have a console. And I screwed up the seat. So that may actually be in the cards. They're thinking about it. They're looking at what's involved. And on here, he's pulled that all out because we're gonna have to put that other pulley on. He's got a few things he wants to paint, but that came out pretty nice. So we're really happy there. And oddly enough, we actually own all the belts already, and they're all new. So all those ones from Summit that are now not the right length anyway, they can go back. Summit's good about that. It's one of the reasons we buy stuff from them, is their understanding. And Bartley is learning about gravity, because gravity is our friend.
Gravity works.
The bonus footage for this Pontiac video, we changed that front seal, which was weird. The Edelbrock kit, which now we've ordered 2 of, the front seals were 2 different sizes. The old one, which might be over here somewhere, it might, oh no, right here. That is a bigger diameter than the one we just put in. So we're wondering if this was packed differently. Also, this one has blue glue on it, and the other Edelbrock kit came with orange glue. So, hopefully we don't have that leak anymore. We cleaned some things up. We changed the power steering cap because it turned out the old one was bad. And we finally put the cool socks on. And now we're just letting her do a warm up, make sure there's no weird leaks or any issues. So, then in Pontiac land, I'm going to guess that they're talking about door cards. That's going to be a big guess right now, especially since they're watching a guy on YouTube playing with the material and the door cards. We have this about half in for now. Good enough for what we're doing. And that will allow me to finish building some of the wiring in there and working on the ductwork and figuring out exactly how I want to route the rear body harness. That's the biggest thing in the harness now, is where do I want to run that. The factory ran it obviously across the floor. In fact, you can see where it runs, and then up under the seat and back, and I may replicate that. I'm not sure. It's just going to take a nice quiet afternoon of me putzing to figure it out. But you can see the window definitely still working nice. I think the molding has really settled in. So at this point, that's where we're at with the Pontiac.
Doing some painting here for the Pontiac. This is for on top of the radiator. You can see the radiator mounts here. So this goes on top. We got that painted up. Got the bolts painted up for it. This is for the front of the power steering pump. We've got some pump parts that need some finer work that we're going to take home and do some of that work there. We also did a little bit of blue work. Look how pretty this is here. So this is one of the wire looms here. That all got painted up and, tapped that in just a little bit.
We have to find that one.
I don't remember one coming with the car, so we'll have to see if we can find one on the internet. This thing, we have no idea what this is, but it got painted. It was blue before. And this is the bracket for the cooler for the transmission lines.
Yeah, the training lines.
Yeah, it goes right up against the wheel hump. So that's there, yeah, for the training lines. So that's what we've been working on there. Everything else looks good.
Yeah. I commented earlier that they must be looking at door cardy kind of things, because I see door cards.
Yeah, we've been talking for a while about doing something fun with the doors. We put those speakers on with the, with the rings and everything, but if we're going to work on seats, we might as well do door panels at the same time. So we're talking over some ideas and we're watching some YouTube videos to see if we can do it ourselves or if we're going to end up sending it out to a pro to do it. Doesn't seem all that hard to do. On these door panels, the only thing that makes it a little bit tougher is the fact that the top half here is metal and it rolls up and then folds over at 90 degrees.
That's typical for GM.
Yeah, unless, you know, if you were doing something earlier, like a 67 Camaro is a flat panel that goes right up to the curved metal, which is actually perfect.
Okay, let me rephrase that. That's typical for big cars,
For cars,
GM.
yeah, agreed. You know, these were a little bit nicer than the Camaro stuff. So we'll see what we're going to do.
Hey, you don't want to hang your arm on metal.
Nope, something fancy.
But yeah, so Pontiac moving along. All right. Oh, I'm chasing the old man. We've been up to the house. The wife's been making jam, and we completely forgot to close out a video. So
Look at that steering wheel.
that is a pretty bitchin' steering wheel.
They're rare to find not cracked all up.
Yeah, they're normally all cracked through here. But yeah, no, I think we got an idea going forward.
We'll change the plans.
Well, it happens. Luckily, we had some seats. Yeah. We will have to work on finding some tracks, but something tells me that Bonneville tracks or Grand Prix tracks will fit.
Are out there. Yep, they're out there.
They're gettable. But ShopDog says, oh, you guys almost forgot to shoot a video for the closeout. So there's our belts. All that stuff's on order. Should be here this week. Yeah. At this point, hi ShopDog. Hey, what do we say at the end?
Thanks for watching.